Today, I present to you the Retevis RB86 waterproof 20-watt GMRS mobile radio. I am going to show you the good things about this radio, and I will also show you the bad things. Every single bad thing about this radio. Now, this is the point in the video where most YouTubers, most desperate YouTubers, would beg and plead for you to subscribe or mash the like button, and the worst of the worst would have the audacity to try to teach you what the bell means, as if you were some kind of an idiot. The price for the Retevis RB86 is $130. Affiliate link below. And Retevis did send me this radio in return for an honest review. And trust me, this is going to be an honest review, a very, very honest review. And Retevis, I know that you're watching. This is going to hurt. When you purchase the Retevis RB86 20-watt mobile GMRS radio, in the box you will receive a booklet full of government-mandated warnings. You will receive a user's manual, 38 pages long, written in plain Chinglish. It does go over most of the functions and features of the radio. I've seen worse. You will receive a mounting bracket for mounting the radio in your vehicle of choice. You will receive this package of assorted hardware, fuses, and a microphone holder. I haven't opened my package because I don't want to lose anything, but it includes everything you need to mount the radio in your vehicle or in a wooden cabinet, apparently. You will receive this power cable, which connects to the pigtail on the radio. It has 2 fuses, and it has a waterproof plug. You will receive this handsome microphone. It has a mini XLR type connector, along with a metal collar, which screws it into the chassis so that it can't easily be removed. I would venture to say it could not be removed at all without unscrewing the collar. This is a very nice microphone. The microphone has a very nice tactile click. It fits perfectly in the palm. It has a transmit light. You can control just about everything on the radio itself. These buttons light up when the radio is powered on. All the functions and buttons that are on the front of the radio are also on the microphone. And if I did not already mention it, the microphone is also waterproof in addition to the radio. And you will receive the Retevis RB86 waterproof mobile 20-watt GMRS radio. The radio is small in stature, measuring just over 4 inches at just over 5 inches. The wiring harness is waterproof. It has another fuse on the hot side. On the rear, you will find a standard SO239 antenna connector, which is intended for a PL259 coax connector. That's the standard type of antenna connector. It has a fan. It has this sealed door, which upon unsealing reveals an extension speaker plug and a programming plug that looks to be a mini USB type connector that is not USB-C. That is where you would put your programming cable. The microphone connects easily to the radio, and then the collar screws in to keep it secure. And oh, let us not forget, I forgot this in my last video, and many viewers were much unhappy. We must remove the protective covering before use. Oh, shit. Well, the tab on the protective covering just broke off. Covering is still there, but now there's no little tab to get it off. I guess that stays on forever now. As previously mentioned, this radio has an IP67 rating, which means it is waterproof, not just the radio, but as also mentioned, the microphone also has the same waterproof rating. This is not a super heterodyne radio. This is known as a homodyne type receiver, also known as an SOC or direct conversion type radio. That means that this radio is not as sensitive as a more expensive superheterodyne radio, and it is also more prone to bleed over and static from other channels. This radio is not on the chirp compatibility list, but you can download Retevis's software for free from the Retevis website. But in order to use the software, you will need a programming cable, which plugs into the aforementioned programming cable hole under that protective door. But the cable does not come with this radio. You can order the cable separately if you can find it. There is no mention of the cable in the user manual, on the Amazon page for the radio, or on the Retevis website. So good luck with that. It does have a very nice display. Full color. On the front, you will find several buttons. On-off button here, a low power, high power button. I forget what that one is for. An F button, that's the function button. Button to quickly get into the codes, CTCSS codes option. I believe that is the channel VFO button. And this is the AB button to switch between upper and lower frequencies. And as previously mentioned, all of those buttons and more are mirrored on the microphone. When transmitting for relatively long periods at high power, the chassis does get very hot, as indicated by this big, bright yellow warning sticker. It does get hot, that is normal. This whole chassis is basically a heat sink. The fan kicks on and off as necessary, but even with the fan, the chassis does get very hot. But as mentioned, do not be alarmed because the sticker says this is normal. The radio does receive NOAA channels, but you have to go into the menus to enable that first before it will do it. And the menus are very different from most other radios. They're actually very easy once you get used to them, but they are different. Two basic options, the radio settings and the radio info option. And all of the settings that you can do are all right here in this menu. Not that many, 28 in total. You have the channel control knob here and the volume control here. You can also change the volume using the up and down arrow key here, or if you press and hold the pound button, that will make it so you can change the channels using these up and down arrows. This radio does not have channels 8 through 14 because it is a mobile radio, and our overlords at the FCCs say, "Thou shalt not haveth transmitting on these channels by a mobile radio." So you can see the small channel indicator here jumps from channel 7 to channel 15. So those channels simply do not exist on this radio. The radio can store 200 channels, but only for storing GMRS frequencies. The Amazon page says the radio has 8 base station channels. 8 base station channels. In Chinglish, base station means repeater. So it has the standard 8 repeater channels, but I don't know if you can store additional repeater channels with different tones because I can't use the software because a cable doesn't come with the radio, and because as easy as the menus are, I could not figure out how to create a new channel on the radio itself. It is not a simple task without the software. It's probably very easy in the software, but I wouldn't know because this radio does not come with a programming cable. The display has 2 lines, so you can listen to 2 different channels at the same time, or you can go in and turn that option off to reduce confuculation. The box says that this is a 20-watt radio, so let's see if they got that right. So to test the power output, I will be using the Farsometer 2000, pronounced Farsometer 2000. I will attach the Farsometer 2000 to the rear of the radio. I will then put the radio on a low power channel and a high power channel. I will press the push to talk button, which will send the RF electricities through this high quality Messi and Poloni cable into the Farsometer 2000, which will display the RF electricities measured in watts right here. You will also see a very large number right here. That will be the SWR, but that is not a valid SWR reading because I do not have an antenna connected. I have a dummy load, which will capture most, but not all of the RF electricities and keep them from escaping. So we will start on channel 7, which is already set to low power as indicated by the L there. L means low. I will now press the push to talk button and we get 9.7 watts. We will now go to a high power channel, channel 17, which is now on high as indicated by the H there. I will press the push to talk button and we get 25.14 watts. Now that's not bad for a 20 watt radio. And finally, we will go to a repeater channel, which uses much higher frequencies, and we get 24.46 watts. Very good for a 20 watt radio. So physically, this is a very well designed radio. It is rugged. It's waterproof. I do like the microphone. It has a nice display. Overall, a good piece of hardware. However, this is where the story takes a very ugly turn. Because out of the box, every channel comes pre-programmed with CTC or DCS tones, which will cause much rage and confuculation. Allow me to clarify. When there is a tone set on a channel, as indicated, for example, by the DCS indicator on the display, when that tone is there, you will only hear other people talking on that channel that have the same tone set in their radio. So when you take this radio out of the box and hook it up in your car and excitedly start calling people, they will hear you. This is a good high power radio. When you put a mobile antenna on the roof of your car, it has many, many FARs. Many people will hear you, but unless they took the time to put the same tone into their radio, and nobody does that, you will not hear them unless or until you remove that goddamn tone. That means you need to go through and remove every tone from every channel on the radio. And when doing this on the radio itself, that is a long and tedious process. It is probably much easier to do it using the software, but I would not know because a fucking cable does not come with this radio. But wait, there's more. As you can see, there are multiple buttons on the radio, reflected here as well. And they all work and do something, whether you press the buttons on the radio or use the corresponding buttons on the microphone. However, if you change from frequency display, which is kind of useless in GMRS because in the GMRS world, we live on channels, not on frequencies. So if you go in to change that to show the channels, thusly, now that we have the channel showing, which is much easier to deal with, magically, all of these buttons stop functioning. All you get when you press them on the radio is the screw you tone. If you press them on the microphone, they just do nothing. A couple of them still work. The menu button, for example, and the VFO button still works. Now VFO doesn't do anything. So if you change to channel mode, you no longer get the use of those exciting buttons. But wait, there's even more. This shit show is just getting started. If you remain in channel mode, because in GMRS we use channels and not frequencies, the channel labels are wrong. This is the label for channel 21. The actual channel is displayed here. And as you can see, channel 20, which is GMRS channel 20, has a label of channel 19, and so on and so forth down the line. And that is because the genius engineers at Retevis started the channel numbering at channel 0 in the labeling instead of channel 1. And to make things even more exciting, you cannot change those labels on the radio itself. You can probably change the labels using the software, but you need the goddamn cable. Another feature of this radio is that instead of having a blank line there to reduce confuculation, if we go in and display, for example, the voltage, I have this radio connected to my Samlex 13.8 volt power supply, And now that we're displaying the voltage, which you'll see right here, you will see that it is reading 7.9 volts, which is very, very wrong. And of course, what worthless radio would not be complete if all of the channels were not set to narrow band, as indicated by that red N. Right out of the box, every channel is preset to narrow band. So no problem. We can check the manual, and on page 24, it tells us how simple it is to change the bandwidth setting on the bandwidth selection option, which is just after the power level option and just before the CTCSS selection option. So when we go into the menu to change the bandwidth as indicated on page 24 of the manual, we're looking for the power level setting because it's right after the power level setting. And we see that not only is there no power level setting, there is no bandwidth selection. It jumps right from squelch mode, which is option number 2, to CTCS selection, which is option number 3. So this radio is stuck in narrow band. It is effectively a narrow band only radio, unless the software allows you to change it, but I would not know because this radio does not come with a cable. For those of you that do not understand the difference between wideband and narrowband and have not watched my video about the differences between wideband and narrowband, this means that because GMRS operates primarily on wideband, and all the real radios out there use wideband, whenever you talk to one of your friends using your narrowband only radio, your volume will sound very low to them at their end. And they will keep telling you to talk louder because they can't hear you. You can talk as loud as you want. You can scream as much as you'd like. Your volume will still be too low because this radio is stuck in narrowband. So should you buy the Retevis RB86 radio? Well, it is waterproof. It is very well built. It is rugged. It is not very expensive, and it outputs more than the advertised 20 watts. But would I recommend this radio to my favorite viewer? No way.